fails on November 4th, all public school children will be affected. It's time for everyone to get involved.
When you vote on protecting marriage this November, your vote will affect every family in your state, including yours. Hello, I'm Tony Perkins, President of the Family Research Council here in Washington, D.C. You may be asking yourself, how will same-sex marriage affect my family? Well, based on the evidence, everything changes when same-sex marriage becomes legal. If it is legalized, then it must be taught as normal, acceptable, and moral behavior in every public school. Don't believe me? It's already happened in Massachusetts. That means public schools in every grade, even kindergarten, must teach your children to accept same-sex marriage. This really confuses children.
David, appreciate you and Tanya inviting us to come into your home. I've been looking forward to sitting down and talking to you about this because I think this is such an important story, and I think parents need to know what's happening in our schools.
The beginning of 2005, our son Jacob was going into kindergarten, and he came home with a diversity book bag. And in the diversity book bag was a book entitled Who's in a Family by Robert Scutch, and that introduces children to same-sex households.
Now, wait a minute, let me be clear. Your son is in kindergarten.
Yes.
And he was given a book about homosexuality and marriage?
Yes.
What was your first reaction when you saw this?
When I saw the book, I was quite upset that they would couch this as diversity and include it in a diversity book bag and not give me notification that they were going to be introducing this topic of homosexual relationships and homosexual behavior and to my young 5-year-old child. I was very upset.
I have the book right here. Who's in a Family? It introduces children to such things as Clifford and her dad's partner, Henry.
This is what they sent home with your 5-year-old?
That's correct, Tony. After the diversity book bag came home, we realized that the intention of the administrators and teachers was to affirm these relationships and gay marriage in the minds of children. When we went into the school, what we requested is parental notification when these issues are brought up by adults within the school, and the option to opt our child out of this type of indoctrination.
Said we didn't think, number one, it was appropriate to discuss that with our 5-year-old, and that if we ever felt it was necessary to have that discussion with our son, we would choose the timing and the manner in which to discuss it with him. And then she said, well, she had checked with the administrators and they had said that this was not a parental notification issue, and in fact that any adult in the school could discuss homosexual families and homosexual issues with our children.
One of the reasons they give is they said same-sex marriage is legal in Massachusetts. Therefore, we can broach it any time with your child. And when they are putting forward that it's equal, they're putting forward that it's a morally equal alternative and affirming it in the minds of children. Now, these are young, impressionable children, and they know very well that there are many parents that do not hold these beliefs. But irrespective of that, in an intolerant manner and in an aggressive manner, they are putting forward that we as parents do not even have the right to know what they're saying to our children.
So when she would not acknowledge our parental rights in this area, we then went to our Judeo-Christian beliefs and our faith and said, well, you wish to affirm homosexuality to our son. You're presenting that which is sin as though it is not to our son, and we cannot allow that. And at that point she reiterated, this is not a parental notification issue.
It is our sacred duty as parents to guide our child. What they did and what they were doing at the point where they won't allow parental notification or the option to opt out is they were taking the parental role for themselves. And they had no tolerance for the notion that parents have the right to be the primary directors of the child's upbringing and moral education. And I said, I'm prepared to sit here all night until I see some form of accommodation as a parent. To make a long story short, the accommodation they gave was to put me in handcuffs and send me to jail.
I couldn't believe that they were willing to arrest my husband because because my husband and I just want a parental notification. We want to raise our children to know God, and God has blessed us with the sacred responsibility to raise them for Him, to know Him, and to know His truth.
I was willing to see how far this administration would go in denying us our rights and squashing parental rights. And they were willing to handcuff a father and send him to jail. It was a 6x8 cell, filthy. But, you know, I felt I didn't have a choice at that point in order to fulfill my role and duty as a father. Parents need to stand their ground. If they intend to have a war over our parental rights, battling for the hearts, minds, and souls of our children, then let it begin here.
Do you see the implications of same-sex marriage being legalized in your state? It affects every family and every child, including yours. Every household with children will find themselves dealing with same-sex marriage discussions with their kids. So, when you cast your vote this November, know the full implications of the legalization of same-sex marriage. It affects every family, including yours. So vote to protect marriage, because how you vote today affects your family tomorrow.